The theft on Station 9X's Station 9X floated quietly in deep space. It was a human outpost built on the edge of known territory. Nothing much happened here. The place was silent, cold, and always under watch. But that night, something changed. Officer James Carter walked down the empty hallway. His boots made soft sounds on the metal floor. He was tired. Another boring shift, he thought. Suddenly, a red light blinked on his wrist scanner. Alert, food storage breach. Sector 4. James stopped. "What the hell?" he whispered. This never happened before. No one ever tried to steal food on Station 9X. He turned and ran towards Sector 4. The lights flickered as he reached the storage bay. The door was open just a little. Strange. He pulled out his laser pistol and stepped inside. The room was dark, only one dim light near the corner. Shelves of food packs stood tall and quiet. Everything looked normal, until he heard it. Soft sound, like breathing. He moved slowly, gun ready. Then he saw her. A thin alien woman crouched beside a broken crate. Her skin was pale blue. She wore dirty clothes and held a small sack filled with human food packs. Her arms were shaking. James raised his weapon. "Stop, put the bag down." The alien froze. Her large eyes filled with fear. Behind her, something moved. Two small figures stepped out from the shadows. Children. Alien children. They were skinny, too skinny. Their faces showed hunger, not hate. They looked at James with wide, scared eyes. The woman dropped the sack and got on her knees. "Please," she said in a soft voice, "don't shoot. My children, they are starving." James blinked. This wasn't what he expected, not a threat, not a soldier, just a mother trying to feed her kids. He kept the gun up. "You broke in. You stole food from a military station. Do you know what that means?" The alien nodded. Tears rolled down her cheeks. "Yes, but I had no choice. They haven't eaten in 3 days. Why come here? This place is dangerous. For your kind. We tried asking for help," she said. "No one listened. We are not important anymore." James lowered the weapon just a little. "What species are you?" She looked down. "Tyranny." His heart skipped. The Tyranny? He remembered that name from history class. Once proud allies of Earth, helped humans during the Mars crisis. But then, silence. They vanished years ago. "I thought your people were gone," he said. "Many are," she replied. "We lost our world. Our ships were taken. We are hiding, now broken." James looked at the children. One held the other's hand. The smaller one was coughing. "Where's your ship?" he asked. "We don't have one," the mother said. "We hid in the cargo tunnels. We've been here for 5 days. 5 days, right under their noses. He couldn't believe it. The right thing to do was call security. Arrest her, follow the rules. But something inside him said no. This wasn't just theft. This was survival. He slowly lowered his gun. "What's your name?" he asked. "Sira," she said. "My children are Tala and Jin." James sighed. "Listen, Sira. If they catch you, they'll lock you away. Maybe worse. Stealing food on a station like this is a serious crime." "I know," she whispered. He looked around. The cameras were off. Lucky timing. He could still walk away. Pretend he saw nothing. But he didn't. Instead, he picked up the sack of food and gave it back to her. "Take this, and follow me." Quietly. Her eyes widened. "You're helping us?" "For now," he said. "But I need answers." "Why now? Why come to a human station?" They moved through the dark corridors. James led them to an old maintenance room, long abandoned. He locked the door and turned to her. "I want the full story," he said. "Everything, starting from the beginning." Sira sat down, holding her children close. "Thank you," she said softly. He didn't answer. His mind was racing. Why had the Taurani returned? What happened to their world? And what secrets had Earth kept hidden? The silence in the room felt heavy. Then, Sira spoke the words that would change everything. "Your people. They took everything from us. James stared at her. What did she mean? And why did her voice sound like truth? A mother's secret. The old maintenance room smelled of rust and dust. Flickering lights buzzed above. James sat on a metal crate, still trying to process what he had just heard. Sira, the alien mother, held her children close. Her eyes were calm now, but heavy with sadness. What do you mean? James asked. You said humans took everything from you? Sira looked up at him slowly. Yes, she said, long ago, before your people settled the outer colonies. James crossed his arms. We were told your species vanished, that the Tyranny left this part of the galaxy. She gave a small, bitter smile. No, we didn't vanish. We were erased. Before James could speak again, a sudden voice echoed through the hallway outside. Security sweep in progress. All units report suspicious activity. James froze. They had very little time. He turned off the light and moved toward the door. He peeked through a crack. 2 guards were checking rooms nearby. He whispered to Sira, "Stay quiet. Don't move." The guards walked past. One of them paused outside the door. James held his breath. The children did too. Even the air seemed still. After a few seconds, the guard moved on. James exhaled. We don't have long. Tell me the truth, all of it now. Sira looked into his eyes. Then listen carefully, James Carter. And remember, this is not just about me. It's about your kind, and what they chose to forget. Years ago, the Tyranny homeworld, Torvalis, was rich with life. Forests that floated in the sky, oceans that sang with light, and energy crystals, Vion cores, buried deep underground. Powerful, clean, endless energy. Humans came as explorers, peaceful at first. The Tyranny welcomed them. They taught them how to harness Vion energy, how to live with balance, not domination. We trusted your people, Sira said. We shared everything. But then something changed. A man named General Calder came, she said. He was not like the others. He came with soldiers, not scientists. He saw the power of Vion cores and decided Earth must have it, all of it. He called it human destiny. He said if we didn't give it willingly, he'd take it. The Tyranny refused. So the humans took, war followed. Vion mines were stripped. Forests burned. Oceans poisoned. Cities turned to ash. And in the final days, a weapon was used. One that shattered the core of Torvalis. Our planet didn't just fall, Sira said. It was broken from the inside. We were scattered, hunted, forgotten. James sat in silence. His heart was pounding, but that can't be, he said. Our history books lie, Sarah whispered. Your history is written by the victors. They erased us, like we were never there. James couldn't believe it. Yet, something inside him said she was telling the truth. How did you get here, he asked. Our last ship crashed near the belt of Shara. Only a few of us survived. We split up, tried to hide on human stations, begged for help. No one listened. Some were arrested. Some vanished. She and her children found an old maintenance pod, drifted for weeks, then landed near Station 9X. We thought maybe, here, someone would show mercy. James looked at her children. They were asleep now, safe for the moment. And now, he asked, what do you want? Nothing more than life, Sira said. Just food, safety, a place to exist. He stood up, walked to the corner, ran a hand through his hair. This was bigger than anything he'd expected. If what she said was true, Earth had committed genocide and buried the truth. But why, and how far did the lie go? His wrist scanner buzzed. James, report to command. We have a situation. He turned it off. They're looking for you, Sira said. I know. Will you hand us over? James stared at her. No, he said finally. But I need to know everything, every detail. If what you're saying is real, then someone out there covered it up, and I'm going to find out who. Sierra nodded slowly. Then you need to see this. She opened a metal band around her wrist. Inside was a small crystal. She handed it to him. This holds the last recorded message from Torvalis. The day we fell. It names the human general who gave the final order. James took it in his hand. What's on it? Her voice was soft but firm. The truth your people killed to hide. He looked at the crystal, then at her. And if I expose it? She looked at her children. Then maybe they'll live, free. Suddenly the lights flickered. The door beeped. Someone was outside. A voice spoke. We know you're in there, Carter. Open the door. James raised his pistol again. Stay behind me, he said. The human choice. The door lock blinked red. Someone was trying to override the code. James raised his pistol. Sweat rolled down his neck. Behind him, Sierra clutched her sleeping children. Her eyes were wide with fear, but silent. She didn't want her kids to wake up and feel panic. A voice came from the hallway again. James Carter, this is Chief Mason. Open the door now. You have 60 seconds before we cut through. Chief Mason. James knew that voice. Cold, strict, always by the book. James stepped closer to the door and spoke loud enough for the mic. I'm just running system checks, he said. Nothing here. A pause. Don't lie to me. Motion sensors picked up 4 heat signatures. In your section. This isn't your routine patrol. Open the door or you'll be treated as a traitor. Traitor? That word hit him harder than expected. He looked at Sierra, then at the sleeping children, and back to the metal door that stood between him and everything he knew. His whole life James had believed in the system, in orders, in right and wrong. But now, right and wrong felt like weapons. He had 2 choices. Follow the rules and destroy the last survivors of a broken species, or break the rules and save lives, knowing it could cost him everything. He whispered to himself, This isn't what I signed up for. James turned back to Sierra. Wake them, quietly. What are you going to do? She asked. What I should have done the moment I saw your children. He walked to the far side of the room and opened a small floor hatch. Underneath was a narrow tunnel, an old maintenance shaft leading to the lower decks. Take this path. Keep going until you find the hangar sublevel. I'll send you the access code for Bay 12. Hide there. Sierra looked at him. You'll be caught. I know. She hesitated, then gently shook her children awake. They moved slowly, quietly, blinking at the darkness. James knelt beside them. You have to be brave now, okay? Follow your mother. Stay quiet. Don't stop. The younger child, Jin, nodded. Sierra touched James's shoulder. Why are you doing this? Because the truth deserves a chance, he said. She disappeared down the tunnel with the children just as the door lock turned green. Too late. The door hissed open. 3 soldiers stood there. Chief Mason stepped forward, his eyes scanning the room. Where are they? Mason asked. James stood tall, blocking the tunnel entrance. What are you talking about? Don't play dumb. You've been off comm for 30 minutes. You accessed restricted systems, and we traced stolen food to your ID tag. James didn't move. You're wrong. Mason stepped closer. Listen, Carter. This is your last chance. Cooperate and we'll forget this ever happened. Just tell us where the aliens are. James clenched his jaw. There are no aliens. Mason looked at the others and nodded. The soldiers raised their guns. You disappoint me, Mason said. You had a good career. Then why is it I only feel human for the first time right now? James asked. A loud sound echoed from behind the wall. One of the soldiers turned. Sir, movement below the floor. Mason's face changed. They're escaping. He raised his hand. Follow them. Shoot if necessary. James acted before they could. He grabbed the closest soldier's gun and slammed him into the wall. Another fired, but James ducked and knocked him down. The third aimed straight at him. Bang! James dove to the side. The shot missed. He fired back, stunning the last guard. Now only Mason was left. The chief pulled a small blaster and pointed it at James's head. "You're throwing away your future," Mason said. "For what, some aliens who stole from us?" "They didn't steal. They begged," James replied, "and we ignored them. You don't know what they really are." James stepped forward slowly. "No, but I know what we've become." They stared at each other in silence. Finally, Mason lowered the weapon slightly. "You'll regret this," he said. James didn't answer. Instead, he fired a small EMP burst from his wristband, disabling the room's cameras and comms. He stepped over the unconscious guards, locked the door behind him, and disappeared into the tunnel. Minutes later, Sierra and the children reached the hangar bay. It was dark and cold. Bay 12 was empty, except for a small maintenance shuttle. James appeared moments later, panting, bruised, but alive. "We don't have much time," he said. "Get inside. I'll fly you out." Sierra paused. "They'll hunt you. They'll try." As the ship powered up, James sent a silent signal through his private channel. Not to command, but to someone else. An old friend. "Jess, it's me. I need a favor. And maybe to start a war." Buried truth, the shuttle drifted through, the black silence of space. Only the faint hum of its engines filled the cabin. James sat in the pilot seat, eyes locked on the empty void ahead, his fingers tight around the controls. Behind him, Sierra and her children sat quietly. Jin was asleep again, his head resting on his mother's lap. Tala, the older child, stared out the small window watching the stars pass by. They didn't speak. There was nothing left to say until James's comm device lit up. Encrypted signal detected. Origin. Off-grid relay station 7C. He tapped the panel. "Accept call." A crackling voice came through. Female, calm, sharp. "Carter, you just made a galaxy-sized mess." "Jess," he said. "I need answers. Fast." Jess Keller was an ex-intel officer now off the grid. 10 years ago, she had been the best at digging up secrets the government wanted to bury. Then she uncovered one too many and disappeared before they could silence her. James had saved her life once. Now he was calling in that debt. "You stole a military shuttle, attacked security officers, and you're carrying alien refugees. Do you even know what you've done?" "They weren't threats," James replied. "They were victims." "Doesn't matter," she said. "You're on every watch list now. They want you dead or locked up." "Then help me prove why I did." It's silence. Then, "Send me the data crystal." James hesitated. The small crystal Sierra gave him was the last surviving record of her homeworld's fall. It named the human general who ordered the final attack. He uploaded a copy to Jess. "Scanning," she said. Seconds turned into minutes. Finally, her voice came back. Different this time. Cold. Angry. "Oh, God," she whispered. "You weren't lying." "Who was it?" James asked. "General Calder. Confirmed ID. This crystal shows his orders, direct from high command. They authorized the destruction of Torvalis." James clenched his fists. "And they covered it up," Jess continued. "They wiped every report, every video log. Then they blamed a natural disaster in the outer systems." Sierra looked at James, her face pale. "But that's not all," Jess added. She uploaded another file. "This is from a hidden archive, something called Project Crimson Nest." "What is it?" James asked. Jess hesitated. "A black ops mission created to erase alien species who resisted human expansion." James felt sick. This wasn't an accident," he said. "This was planned." "Yes," Jess said. "And Torvalis was only the first. They had 5 targets." Sierra leaned forward. "Who else?" Jess scrolled the file. "Next was the Matari, then the Zalan, then the Velarin. All gone. Now." James stood up, pacing the small ship. "How many people knew about this?" "A dozen at most," Jess replied. "Top-level generals, a few council members, all protected, all silent." He stopped. "I'm going to expose them." Jess laughed, bitterly. "With what army?" James didn't smile. I don't need an army. Just the truth. They docked at Relay Station 7C, a forgotten communication post built into an asteroid. Jess was already there, waiting in the shadows. She looked older than James remembered, thinner, more careful, but her eyes were still sharp. So this is her? She asked, nodding at Sierra. Yes, James said. And the kids? The last of their kind. Jess sighed. Then we better make sure they stay alive. They went inside. The old station was dusty, dark, but still operational. Jess led them to a control room filled with old screens and wires. If we send this data out, she said, they'll come for us with everything they've got. Let them, James replied. We'll be ready. He handed Jess the full crystal, along with backup files he had downloaded from the station's archive before fleeing. Jess began decoding the encryption. As she worked, she said quietly, You know, once this goes public, the alliance will break. Colonies will riot. People will demand justice. Good, James said. They should. Sierra watched them both. If this brings war, I don't want more blood. We're not starting a war, James said. We're ending a lie. Suddenly, Jess's screen flashed red. Incoming transmission. Military source. They all froze. A deep voice came through. This is Admiral Kelvin of the United Human Command. You are in possession of stolen property and classified intel. Power down and surrender immediately. Jess muted the comm. They found us, she said. James looked out the small window. A warship was approaching. Fast. They're not here to arrest us, he said. They're here to erase us. Enemies among us. The warship grew larger on the screen, its engines glowing like angry suns. The relay station shook as its scanners locked on. Inside the control room, James, Jess, and Sierra stood frozen. The children huddled behind their mother, quiet but terrified. We have less than 2 minutes, Jess said. Their plasma cannons will cut through this asteroid like paper. Can we jump to light speed? James asked. Not from here, Jess replied. This station doesn't have a hyperdrive. Then we need another way out. James moved fast. He ran to the back of the station where the escape pods were stored. There were only 2 small pods, each barely big enough for 1 adult and 1 child. Only 2? He muttered. They weren't built for families, Jess said, arriving behind him. This was a listening post, not a refugee shelter. James looked at the pods, then at Sierra and her children. He already knew what had to happen. Sierra takes the kids, he said. You take the other pod, Jess. Get out. Find someone who'll... Listen. Leak the files, all of them. What about you? Jess asked. James looked back toward the warship on the screen. I'll hold them off. Sierra shook her head. No. We go together. James gave her a small, sad smile. If we all... I hear no one learns the truth. But if even one of us survives, it means they failed. Jess clenched her jaw. You're going to get yourself killed. Maybe, James said. But not before I make them regret chasing us. As the pods were prepared, Jess uploaded all the files. The Torvalis, genocide, Project Crimson Nest, and the order signed by General Calder into a quantum drive, small enough to fit inside her jacket. Hide it well, James told her. This is the real weapon. You'd better be right, she muttered. He turned to Sierra. Her eyes glistened. She stepped forward, placing a hand on his chest. You didn't have to help us, she whispered. I didn't, he agreed. But I'm glad I did. The children looked at him with sadness and something else. Respect. He knelt in front of Jin. Be strong. Protect your sister. And when you're older, remember what they did. But don't become like them. Jin nodded. James stood and hit the launch button. The 2 escape pods blasted from the station like shooting stars, vanishing into the blackness. He was alone now. Inside the command room, the station lights flickered. The warship was almost in firing range. James sat at the console and opened the comms channel. This is James Carter, he said, former officer of Station 9X. Before you destroy me, you should hear what I've learned. Admiral Kelvin's face appeared on the screen. Cold, calculating. You betrayed your people, the Admiral said. No, James replied. I stood for what humans should have been, not thieves, not killers. You will be erased, Kelvin said. Your name, your records, your life, all gone. Forgotten. James smiled. Not if the truth reaches the stars before you do. He tapped a command. All files were now being uploaded to dozens of pirate signals bouncing between outlaw colonies, hidden satellites, and old trade beacons. The Admiral's eyes widened. Cut that transmission. Now. Too late. Back on the warship, chaos erupted. Officers scrambled to shut down the spreading data leak, but it was like trying to hold back a storm with bare hands. Sir, the files are already hitting outer colonies, one technician yelled. We can't stop them. Inside the station, James sat in the dark listening to the alarm sirens. The countdown had started. 10 seconds until impact. James stared at the stars. Worth it, he whispered. But then, a voice crackled through the comm. James, is that really you? His eyes widened. Mason, he said. Chief Mason, the officer who had tried to arrest him earlier, now spoke again. But this time, his voice was different. Shaken. Human. I saw the files, Mason said. They're spreading like wildfire. I didn't know about any of this. None of us did, James said, and now we can't unsee it. Get out of there. There's a smuggler ship in range. I'll send them your way. Call it a second chance. James smiled faintly. So, you believe me now? Mason sighed. I don't know what to believe. But if half of what's in those files is real, then maybe you're not the enemy. Minutes later, a rusted old freighter appeared near the station. The Iron Pulse, known across colonies for carrying dangerous cargo and never asking questions. James ran to the last airlock and boarded just as the warship fired. The relay station exploded behind him, turning into dust and flame. But James was gone, and the truth had already reached the galaxy. The last colony, the stars stretched like lines as the Iron Pulse dropped out of light jump. James stood at the cockpit window, his eyes locked on the planet below. It looked broken. Clouds covered, most of the surface hiding deep scars, giant craters, dead oceans, ash storms rolling across what once might have been green valleys. So this is what's left, he whispered. The pilot, a quiet older woman named Raya, glanced over. We used to pass by it, she said. But the story said it was cursed, full of ghosts. No one's come near it in years. Ghosts don't scare me anymore, James said. But lies do. He tapped the comm. Jess, status? Her voice came through, faint but clear. We landed hours ago, found an underground structure, massive and inhabited. Tirani? Yes, she said. Survivors, not many, but they're alive. James closed his eyes for a moment, the weight of that word sinking in. Alive. The Iron Pulse landed on a rocky plateau. The air was thin and cold. James stepped out, a small oxygen mask clipped to his face. Ruins stretched in every direction, once great towers, now cracked like bones. But below the surface, in the hidden caverns, life still pulsed. Torchlight flickered on the cave walls as James walked beside Jess and Syra. The tunnels were carved into the stone, filled with old Tirani markings. This place was a sanctuary, Syrah said softly. Only a few knew of it. Who leads them? James asked. Jess didn't answer. Instead, they reached a heavy door. Guards stood outside, tall Tirani warriors, their armor scratched but strong. They raised their weapons when they saw James. Syrah stepped forward. He's with me. The guards looked at each other, then stepped aside. The door opened with a low hum. Inside sat a tall figure, older than Syrah, with deep purple markings on his skin and sharp, watchful eyes. He wore no crown, but his presence filled the chamber like thunder. This was Calum, the last High Elder of the Tirani. He rose to his feet slowly. So, he said, his voice deep and calm, the human who carries the truth has arrived. James stepped forward. I didn't come here to make excuses. I came to tell the galaxy what really happened to your people. Calum walked toward him, studying his face. You carry the shame of your kind, but also something else. Choice. He gestured to the center of the chamber, a platform with an ancient device, glowing softly. What is that? James asked. A beacon, Calum said. One that can reach the outer systems, once used to guide our ships. Now it waits for a voice worth following. James stepped closer. You want me to speak? You already have, Calum replied. Your files are spreading. Colonies are questioning the alliance, and Earth is afraid. Afraid of what? Calum turned, eyes sharp. Afraid of what happens when those they crushed stand up. Outside the chamber, unrest was growing. Some Tyranni wanted peace, others wanted revenge. A young warrior named Valar stepped forward during the gathering. Why should we trust him? Valar shouted. They burned our cities, hunted our children, and now this one asks us to hope again? Murmurs filled the hall. James didn't back away. Instead, he stood before them all and raised his voice. I didn't come to ask for trust, he said. I came to take responsibility. Took a deep breath. I was born into a system that lied to me. It trained me to see you as threats. It taught me that silence was safety. But I'm done being silent. He looked directly at Valar. Your anger is real. Your pain is real. But if we let hate guide us now, we become the very thing that broke your world. Silence followed. Then Calum stood beside him. He speaks with fire, the elder said, and fire, if controlled, can warm a cold galaxy. Later that night, Sira and James stood at the edge of a cliff overlooking the Deadlands. They might never fully trust me, James said. You don't need them to, Sira replied. You only need to stand. They will follow or not, but they will see. He looked at her. And you? She smiled softly. I already saw. A deep boom echoed from the distance. Jess came running from the tunnels, her face pale. We've got a problem, she said. Earth just declared you a traitor and a war criminal. Every bounty hunter and loyal ship in this region is coming. How many? Too many, she said. They'll be here in 2 days. Calum gathered his people. Tyranni warriors, scientists, children, all stood beneath the ancient beacon. We will not run, Calum said. Not this time. James stepped forward. We have old tech. We have brave hearts. And we have something stronger than weapon. He raised the crystal into the air. Truth. Hope for 2 worlds. The skies above the dead world burned orange. Warships approached from orbit. Sleek, dark, armed to the teeth. Earth's loyalist fleet, 3 heavy cruisers and 6 gunships, had arrived. They weren't here to talk. Deep in the mountains below, the last Tyranni colony prepared for war. James stood on a metal platform inside the ancient Tyranni command hall. Beside him was Elder Calum, and behind them, dozens of warriors, engineers, civilians, and survivors. The enemy outnumbers us, Calum said, but they do not outshine us. Jess walked in, breathless. They've sent a message. They want you, James. Surrender in 10 hours or they'll turn this place into glass. A heavy silence filled the chamber. James didn't blink. Then we make sure they regret coming. Hours before deadline, Tyranni children were moved into hidden chambers. Old shield generators were activated for the first time in decades. They crackled and buzzed, weak but alive. It's not enough, Jess muttered, staring at the power readings. Those shields won't hold more than 2 hits. Then we'll stop the 3rd, James said. He and Velar, the once angry warrior, had begun working side by side. They trained a mixed defense force of Tyranni scouts and old human defectors, smugglers, pirates, refugees, all now united by one thing: truth. A former human soldier named Rylan joined the fight after seeing the leaked files. They lied to us, he said. They made us into monsters. James nodded. Then let's become something else. Hours before deadline, Jess managed to tap into the Loyalist fleet's comm grid using the Tirani beacon array. It was risky, but it worked. James stood before the glowing crystal and began to broadcast, not just to the fleet, but to the entire galaxy. "My name is James Carter," he said, voice calm but fierce. "And I am a soldier of Earth, or I was. I discovered what they did. To Torvalis, to the Matari, to the Velarin. It was not war. It was murder." He looked into the camera, eyes steady. They called it protection. They called it security. But it was fear, disguised as order. Now they want to bury the truth again, with bombs, fire, and silence. But silence ends today, across dozens of systems, outer colonies, space stations, and underground networks. People watched. Some cried. Some raged. Some began to choose sides. On board the flagship of the Loyalist fleet, Admiral Kelvin watched the speech in silence. He turned to his officer. "Jam the signal." "We can't, sir. It's bouncing through old Tirani tech. Impossible to isolate." Hours before deadline, Syra stood with her children near the inner sanctuary. "Are you afraid?" James asked her. She shook her head. "We were afraid for years. Fear didn't save us. Standing up might." James smiled. "You'd make a better leader than me." "You gave us a voice again," she said. "Now we'll use it." Deadline arrives, the fleet moved into final attack formation. Inside the colony, the defenders took position. Missiles loaded, rifles charged, hearts steady. The first cruiser aimed its primary cannon at the mountain. But then, a new signal broke. Through the command line. "Stand down." Confused officers looked up. A second voice followed. "This is Colony Command of Vega 9. We support Carter. This is Mars Outpost 17. We've seen the files. We will not attack civilians. This is the Xiang Alliance. We demand a ceasefire." More signals flooded in. Captains of smaller ships refused to fire. Whole colonies declared neutrality or rebellion. Jess stared at the screen. It's working. The truth is breaking them from the inside. Admiral Kelvin, now alone on his command bridge, gave one final order. Any ship that refuses to fire will be marked traitor. But no one responded. They simply turned and left. 1 week later, the war never came. Earth's top command collapsed under pressure. Officials resigned. Others were arrested. Project Crimson Nest was exposed. Survivors from multiple lost species stepped forward with their stories. A galactic council was formed. For the first time in human history, one that included alien voices. At the heart of it all was James. But he didn't want power. He gave it to those who had lost everything. On the new Tirani world. A terraformed moon donated by colonies who stood with them. A small statue was placed. It showed a human and a Taurani child side by side. Beneath it, one sentence was written in 4 languages. "Truth is the seed from which peace can grow." James stood at the edge of a silver lake watching Syra and her children laugh under twin suns. Jess walked up beside him. "You did it," she said. "No," James replied. "We all did." The end.